Farm for Profit podcast. Take a listen, have a blast. Farm for Profit podcast. Learn about farming while having a laugh. Farm for Profit podcast.
Boy, Corey, a new studio comes with new challenges.
It absolutely does.
Nobody's going to know what we just dealt with, but
18 minutes of BS.
I am sweaty.
Well, you got 3 shirts on.
Hey, it's cold in Iowa.
Okay.
It's probably cold everywhere. I'm not even prepared. You want me to see if I got some music for you to do some introductions?
You can. I'm trying to find my outline here, which I'll get it up here.
I had it up, then we closed everything down.
Yeah. It really wasn't the studio's fault. It was a brand new cord's fault.
Out of a bag. Out of the bag.
Amazon.
Does nobody make good stuff anymore?
Gina.
You ready?
Yeah.
Gotta get to your section. All right, let's get him introduced.
Hey there, Farm for Fun listeners. It's a little different intro, isn't it? Today on the show, we are going back to a state that just keeps us coming back. We have a guest that's involved in dairy and beef, chickens, hay, row crops, maple syrup, and he has all the rainbow colors of the equipment, besides maybe one. This man's very informative with high-quality content on TikTok, where he has over 161,000 followers. Wow. Please welcome from Wisconsin, Mr. Aaron Ninnemann, a.k.a. at Ninny1083.
Nice. Hey, welcome.
What's up, buddy?
Oh, not much.
So,
Nice warm afternoon here in Wisconsin, I guess.
thank you for coming on and being patient for 18 minutes. Look, I know it doesn't seem like that much, but like time is more valuable than money, and you know, we just wasted 18 minutes of your life, so I'm sorry about that.
No, that's
You probably got chickens or something to be doing something with.
not for a while here yet. You're right about every color of equipment except deer. We have never owned a John Deere tractor on our farm at all here yet.
Sounds like you're scared.
Are you scared?
Well, I don't know. We've priced them out here and there, but just never wound up working out, I guess.
Well,
It's almost like I'm picturing like we're deer, like the girl. Like, you want to come get us, but, like, you're dating all these other ones, and you just don't want to commit. Like, you won't commit to just one.
not yet. No.
I mean, it's just not our color, I guess, but I don't completely throw them out. I mean, I priced out a couple new tractors in the past couple of years, and I gave Deere the option, but as far as the hard numbers, they weren't able to compete. So that was that yet here. So,
But you don't have a color. Like, I said it's the rainbow.
It is pretty much. I mean, I would say we're most loyal to Massey at this point, or AGCO Corporation. You know, we got a few newer Masseys here and a couple Fendt and that kind of deal. But you know, kind of what we run with, I guess.
So if you're a farmer and you like you said, you're affiliated with Massey, even though a Fendt is an AGCO, what makes you go to the Fendt over a Massey or the Massey? Like, why wouldn't you just have all Masseys or all Fendts?
Fendt too is kind of a pricey tractor, I guess I would say. We have a local dealer here, Sidursky, that sells Massey. You know, so they're 6 miles down the road from us. Really good to work with. So, you know, we go there for a lot of this stuff. I can't quite remember how we got into our first Fendt, but once you drive one, you'll understand why you go towards Fendt, I guess. You know, I still feel Massey's a little bit of the redheaded stepchild of AGCO, you know, versus as nice as a Fendt is. You know.
Sidursky. Can you spell that?
No. No, Sidursky.
All right, Corey.
I believe Sidursky is the #1 seller of New Holland tractors in the country, but
Whoa.
we don't have anything blue.
Wow. Well, we can't use any of the first 3 minutes of this podcast. We're just going to have to, like, zoom in on the sign over our shoulder.
Yeah, there you go.
So not only do we waste 18 minutes getting everything set up, now we have 3 minutes of it. No, I'm kidding. Corey said that we went back to a state that keeps giving. where are you located?
Wausau, Wisconsin, which is right in the center of the state, basically.
Wausau.
Wausau, yep.
Wausau.
Wausau. You ever been?
I think I've drove
WSAU.
through. I think I've drove through.
Yeah.
So on my way to, would that be like on my way to Green Bay? I've been to Green Bay a couple times.
I mean, it's straight. I mean, if you're going from Green Bay to Minneapolis, you're going to run through it.
Okay.
We're right in between there, basically.
Maybe
Nice.
when we went up snowmobiling or something.
Could have been. I know I've
Yep.
seen it spelled out. I don't know why. Maybe it was just your profile, but that's kind of neat. So you are on, what do you call your farm? Are you on a dairy farm? Are you on a crop farm? What do you call it?
Well, I guess I'll give you the story. I mean, so it was basically just dairy for a lot of years. My grandpa and my dad and my uncle created what is Ninnemann Enterprises back in 1975. And at that point, they went to milking 100 cows and went to registered cattle at that point. And got heavy into registered cattle. We actually had the #1 cow in the U.S. for 6 years.
Wow.
Back in the late 80s, early 90s. So genetics was our big thing throughout that time period. As time went along, so I'm 40 years old here now, but at 16 years old, we farmed about 450 acres. And from that point on, we've grown a little bit kind of every year, never huge leaps and bounds, to about 2,000 acres here today. So now I would say, cropping is as big of a portion as what the dairy is, if not a little bigger. So
Nice.
I said that.
That's you did.
Jinx, you owe me a beer.
Walk in there and get one. It's in the fridge.
So it's you.
and
Who's involved in that farm now? It's you and your dad and his brother?
yeah, my dad, my uncle, and then I have 2 younger brothers as well.
Holy smokes.
Everyone is on the farm full time, except for me. When I turned 18 years old, the farm was struggling at that point, and I would say maybe not in quite a clear direction. My dad kind of wanted to quit milking cows somewhere in between there a little bit, and we had cut back from 100 cows down to about 60, and then grew some Holstein steers. And after 3-4 years of that, realized that wasn't going to work. And that's the time I graduated high school, where things were just barely struggling along. I asked Grandma and Grandpa if I was going to be able to work on the farm, and they initially told me they didn't think they'd be able to put me on. So I got a construction job, or interviewed for a construction job in between there. And before I even started that job, Grandma and Grandpa says, we talked about it. We think we can do it. I said, well, I already committed to this other job. I think I got to give it a whirl. Well, 21 years later, I'm still there.
Wow.
And farming. So
what kind of construction?
So it's commercial, industrial. So up in this area, we got a lot of paper mills. I work at a 3M rock quarry pretty much all year long, which is 12 minutes from the farm. So it works out pretty well for me. They're pretty flexible. I've been here long enough. I'm a superintendent here now, so I manage my own job, my own people, bid my own work, and they kind of leave me alone. So.
And that's kind of nice. I like it when Corey leaves me alone.
I do that a lot.
So you said you're in a supervisor role. So when you mention construction, is it framing or is it earth moving? What type of work?
No, so industrial maintenance, so, we're working on a lot of big equipment, setting, big equipment. We'll build new buildings, install all the equipment that goes in them. The company I work for does, a lot of schools, hospitals, water treatment plants, that type of stuff. But I don't go towards that sector anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm just in industrial work.
So I'm going to guess the answer, but I'm not going to say it. Why stay there? It sounds like things you could come back to the farm if you wanted to full time now, but
yeah.
It must be some kind of a value, or you liking the benefits or the extra money, or what's going on there?
It's a difficult situation. My dream has been to quit for as long as I can remember. And the longer I've been at, this construction company, the better it's gotten as far as flexibility and whatnot. So right now I'm kind of living the best of both worlds. When I was a little younger here, I wasn't, absolutely needed on the farm. I mean, I was there for spring field work and that kind of deal, not there for day-to-day operations, I would say. And, between my dad, my uncle, and my two brothers, they were taking care of all that. And it was, no big deal. And two, my dad is 67, I believe, here this year. My uncle will be 70. And they're both very involved yet, and you're probably not going to kick them out till they're dead, type of deal.
Yep.
My dad's there at 4:00 every morning feeding cows. He went through some health issues here, and had radiation every day for 3 months, and he never missed a day on the farm.
Wow.
To milking cows through the years. Some guys do rotated, days off and whatnot. I can remember my uncle missing a week of milking once to go to Colorado to visit his daughter. And I remember my dad missing a milking for my wedding and maybe being sick once or twice. Them guys never missed a milking, basically in 50 years.
That's a track record.
That's better than those athletes that have started so many games in a row or
Right.
whatever it is.
That's every day. I mean, that's hot, cold, snow, Sundays, birthdays, Christmas.
So I thought maybe with the robots here, my uncle would maybe take some days off, and he's got a daughter in California. I thought he'd maybe go visit, but he hasn't left a day yet. So
How long ago did you install the robots?
So that was August of 22. So we're 2.5 years in on that.
And
there's, what's that?
And
Going really well.
Good.
Really well. My dad, I'm kind of surprised. He was a naysayer for quite a few years, but he's taken to it fairly well too, and more than I thought he was gonna. It's going good, making the labor portion of it much more enjoyable, I guess I would say. And there too, the talk got to be right before we went to robots. I talked to my younger brother and I said, I think I'd like to put in robots and quit work and come back to the farm. And he told me absolutely not. If we were putting in robots, he was going to go to town and get a job. He didn't want nothing to do with it. So I kind of let that set for a few days and talked to my other brother, and he said, if we don't go to robots, I'm going to town. I'm not milking these damn cows every day for the rest of my life. So from there, I went to that first brother that was a naysayer and asked him, why don't you want to do it? And he said, well, I don't want to spend the money. I don't want to go in debt that far. So at that point, that kind of clicked for me a little bit, that if we were ever going to do this, we weren't going to expand and double our herd or anything like that. We wanted to stay at the cow numbers we were at. And in order to make the numbers all make sense, we were going to have to use as much of our existing facilities as we could. So we had a manure pit, we have silos, everything we've kept in good condition throughout the years. But it was like, how can we make robots fit here? And I just did a simple Google search of the nearest Lely dealership and gave them a call. And me and my one brother went and looked at a farm that was actually only about 30 minutes away that had done this on a Friday. Took my dad and my uncle back there on that Saturday, and within a month we had signed the paperwork for the robots.
wow.
My uncle, part of the conversation there, my uncle said 3 more years is all the longer I'm milking cows. Had enough of this, whatever. And I just didn't want to see the farm as a dairy end or come to an end. I feel like my grandma and grandpa gave huge sacrifices throughout their lives to make the farm what it was. And I just couldn't see closing the doors on it. If that meant that I was going to quit my job and come back and milk cows or whatever it took, that's what I was going to do. But, the robot conversation had been, lightly happening over the years. And I think, my uncle never said, but I think he saw it was an easy way for him to get out of milking cows in 3 months instead of 3 years.
There you go.
So,
And yeah, so he gets out of milking cows in 3 months, but he's going to be around for 10 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, but he enjoys it. He does, or what he's always done, he does the book work, and then he does all the spraying, and he does the soybean planting. So that's kind of where he sticks. And he still does a little feed mixing every day. He wants something to do every day. He's not going to sit in a rocking chair and wait to die.
Yeah.
So
What do you figure that how long did it take to pay off the robot, or how long did you guys figure it would?
that's kind of tricky, but they say about 7 years, something like that. In our situation, with as much as we're cash cropping, we can throw a pretty good wad at it every year, so it's coming down pretty fast. So
Does it? Well, obviously, it makes you way more efficient to where you probably can be more timely with the row crop and make sure the other parts of your farms are doing a good job.
Exactly. That was the problem with the tie stall, is when it came milking time, all 5 guys came back to the farm to feed cows, milk cows, get all the chores done. You come back at 3 o'clock, you don't get back out there till 8, and then you're out in the field till 1, 2 in the morning. And now, my dad can take care of, he's the cow man. He doesn't hardly drive a tractor. I can't remember a time that he really ever has a whole lot. And he can take care of, all the robot chores and whatnot, with my 9-year-old son, and everybody else can stay in the field. So
There you go.
It's working a lot better for getting all that done. And then too, you can quit now at 9 o'clock at night instead of midnight.
Yeah.
Because you were able to keep going.
I remember growing up as a kid on the field to finish a hog farm that, there were days that you didn't get to the field until 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the afternoon because it was breeding, or you had to castrate, or you had to process, or whatever it was. This was the day to grind feed because we ground all of our own feed for a long time. I mean,
man.
It did. Sometimes the crops took the back seat, and it might have been the appropriate moisture to go get those soybeans, and they sat there for a day, or they sat there till late afternoon when they were too dry.
Yep. Yeah, livestock always took precedence, which as it should. But yeah, that's technology can help with that. So instead of just hiring more, you can get a robot. You got the feed one, the feed Lely as well, that like the claw that Iowa Dairy Farmer Dan has. No.
No, we're not able to fit that in.
Okay.
So we're still mixing feed in a stationary TMR up in the barn the way we always have, I guess, or since the early 90s. We just have that Juno feed pusher, and that's as far as we can go. That'll fit, in our facility.
Okay. And what kind of?
What were you going? He was going to say something.
Yeah,
what were you going to say, Aaron?
I don't know where I was going with that.
That's fine.
Now where was I going with mine? What kind of dairy cattle?
Pretty much all Holstein. So one thing we did a little different here too is we've been just buying replacement dairy cattle since like 2006, I believe. We quit raising heifers and started breeding everything Angus and just buying our replacements. So we've been doing it that way a long time here. So when it got time here to do this barn remodel, we just sold out the entire herd, shut down for 3 months, got the barn remodeled, and then went to buy a new herd. And when we bought a new herd, we were able to find 70 cows out of one herd that was kind of a mixed bag of some Jerseys and Jersey crosses and Holsteins and them couple linebacks. I've done videos on and whatnot, but primarily Holstein.
So what's all the cream-colored, or I'm assuming they're beef cattle, in the tie stall, the small ones?
Sure. So those are, last year's calves. I've been using kind of Murray Gray, a couple Char labels there for a couple years. Hereford was mixed in there one other year. Primarily try to use registered Murray Grays, though. And the last bulls that I've been buying, I get from a guy that is, focusing on grass-fed genetics along with tenderness and marbling. So they're all genetic tested, and that's kind of what I've been going for. And then all those animals for the beef. I mean, that's just small time over there. 35 to 50 cows we calve every spring, and then all that beef is sold direct to consumer in quarters and halves.
You googled the same thing I googled.
Well, I remember the name Murray Gray from because we used to run the Avenue of Breeds at our state fair here in Iowa. So we had, and one of my jobs was to get one of every breed there. That's what they wanted, people to
Sure.
go through and see all the different cattle and the chickens and pigs and horses and some of the weird ones. I remember Murray Gray, but I'm just looking.
It's an Australian breed
Yeah.
of polled cattle.
Yeah, so they were developed in Australia in 1904 in the Murray Valley. A farmer there had a cow that had 12 calves over her lifetime, I believe 8 heifers and 4 bulls that were bred Shorthorn Angus that came out gray, and they interbred those 12 animals and developed the breed, and they were introduced to the U.S. in 1975.
Interbred.
So it's
12
just,
animals. That's what we got.
So it's just incest Angus.
It's incest Angus.
Kind of. So it was just years ago. Oh, I don't remember what year that was. Probably 13 years ago, something like that. There was an ad in the Ag Review. I was in Palmyra, Wisconsin, which is down by Madison. That a guy,
Elvira. Oh, no, that's not what he said.
yeah, guy was selling all these Murray Gray heifers, bulls, whatnot, and I had never heard of a Murray Gray before. Upon reading that classified ad, Googled it, and I thought they looked pretty neat. I grew up with dairy cattle and raising Holstein steers, and kind of always wanted some cow calf beef, so I thought they looked cool, and I went and bought a load. That's as simple as it was.
That's good. You know who else has Murray Gray cattle?
I do not.
Our listener review today.
They do?
No, but wouldn't that be kind of cool?
I was going to say. Okay.
Well, it could happen.
Maybe they do.
Maybe
We
they
don't
do.
know that they don't.
From North Mish Farmer, in Mish Farmer on Apple Podcasts. Another
Okay.
5-star review.
Yeah.
Can you read it, or is it too long for you?
It's too long.
I have slowly built from a small hay farm to offset my taxes. Now I farm 400 acres. The business side of farming is the hardest. You guys help cut through the clutter of everything from operating loans to real estate planning. Oh, no, to estate planning, not real estate planning. And have been super helpful in making me profitable. Thank you. United States of America. I assume he's from Michigan since he's in Mish Farmer.
And Mish Farmer. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That was a good
It's always
review.
good to hear that.
He should probably, if he wants to be profitable, he needs to go look at Murray Gray cattle.
I bet he already has some.
That was terrible, Aaron. I'm sorry. That was
Murray Gray cattle, they just flesh up really easy. Like I say, they're focused for grass fed. A lot of guys do grass fed, which I am not at this point. But you feed them some corn and they flesh up really easy and really fast. So,
Aaron, do you listen to, what's your favorite podcast that you listen to?
Besides Farm for Profit.
No, wait. I want to hear his answer.
Oh.
What's your favorite podcast, Aaron?
well, of course, it would have to be Farm for Profit, but I've never listened to a podcast in my life.
Never.
Wow.
He has never listened. So you wouldn't know how important these listener reviews are and where to go do this. So in case we've got a first-time listener like Aaron will be when his show comes out, you got to hit the 5-star button on the platform that you listen, and then you have to type words in to leave us that review to make it count.
You're like, these guys rock.
Yeah.
Sure.
You could do it on YouTube. You don't even have to go to a podcast platform. You could watch it on YouTube and leave
All
it
right.
there too.
All right. Yep.
So what do you do? What do you listen to?
Oh, I don't know. I watch TikTok and work. That's it.
It's not a bad life.
But there's some instances where it's kind of dangerous to be working and doing this. Watching
Well,
TikTok.
He's a construction supervisor. We all know
Yeah,
that
but
they
he's got to
just
get in the field or whatever.
they all
or
just stand there and watch the
you
other
get
4
yourself
guys.
some Bluetooth headphones and wear
A
them.
little bit of radio or whatever, just local radio.
Yeah.
Not much.
Yeah.
I could see Aaron standing there watching the 3 guys that are watching the one guy working.
That's county
Oh,
or
that's
state.
DOT. It's not regular construction.
Right. So you got a bunch of other stuff going on the farm as well, right? Like you got your chicken project, and I've seen some other. I don't know if it's yours or not, but you stopped by a ginseng farm.
Ooh.
And
Yeah, so we don't currently have ginseng. We did that for a little bit. So Marathon County is a pretty large producer of ginseng here, I guess, in the world. The soil's right for it, I guess. So the largest ginseng grower in the state is my next door neighbor, and then there's another one, not far away. So ginseng started out, when the guys started, they were putting in a third of an acre or a quarter of an acre or an acre, and these guys are putting in, 200 acres a year here now. So they come and just rent entire farms, and you got huge fields. And we work with one of them fairly closely on land trading and whatnot. So
ginseng, that's like a root, isn't it?
yeah,
it's
a
a
herb.
root.
Yeah.
And I've said on the videos, you can only plant it once, so that's where things get tricky. You can only plant it once on a piece of ground.
Can you imagine if we could only
Why?
do that with corn?
Why can you only plant it one time?
So I think it puts some kind of toxin in the ground, where it basically, if you try to plant it again, it kills the seedlings, kind of like alfalfa would be, but alfalfa, that goes away, and after a year of corn you can plant it again, and apparently ginseng is forever.
Is it so? The ginseng that they're growing, does it have the little red flowers on it?
Yeah, so those are the seeds.
Haven't you ever watched
No.
as a Discovery show?
Clearly I haven't.
Like, they are up in the mountains hunting
Oh,
ginseng
yeah.
or whatever.
But
Like,
yeah, they're like digging the roots. That's how I knew.
that's
it was a
what
root.
this is. It's just cultivated. It's farmed.
I know, but I'm looking at
Cultivated.
this. The seeds are pretty. I could see this being like an Instagram type, kind of like canola. You have people stop by the road and take pictures with the pretty red flowers.
If I remember right, you don't get paid as much for farm ginseng as you do for wild ginseng.
Correct. Yeah, wild ginseng is big money, but this, cultivated ginseng, they're basically spraying it with some chemical every time it rains, versus, wild ginseng has got nothing on it. It's very susceptible to disease, slugs, that kind of deal. I can remember when I was a kid, we grew it a little bit, and you'd have little pieces of plywood laid around the ginseng garden. You'd look at under there every day if you had slugs. And if you had slugs, you better get out there with slug pellets before they ate your roots.
So, do you know enough to know like what a good yield of ginseng per acre is?
Oh, yeah. So I think today here now, a good yield, at one time it was 2,000 pounds an acre. I think now you're at the 3,000 pound an acre is a good yield. 3,500 you can hit on some land, 3,500 pounds an acre. And, it's down to only worth in the teens per pound right now, but it wasn't too many years back that it was worth like $60 a pound. So there was some pretty huge money in it a few times here.
How do they know that it's not wild ginseng? It's like organic corn. Can I just sell my field corn like organic corn?
The wild ginseng is going to be a very small root. Compared to this cultivated ginseng is going to be a much larger, nicer looking root.
So you sort out your stragglers with a screen and just put all your small roots in
There
a
you go.
basket, and that's your wild ginseng.
There's more to it. I looked into this when I was looking into aronia berries.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was like, oh, shoot, I just grow ginseng, and I just need an acre of that,
Right.
to,
Right.
type of deal.
Yeah, we grew it just for 4 years, kind of when I was a kid, and that was the deal too. Yeah, if you struck a good garden, you were going to make some money.
Yeah.
But
it also takes, 3 or 4 years to get a crop, right?
Yeah, about 4 years generally. Yep.
And then what I was reading is our soils here in Iowa is like, at least here in central Iowa, is too heavy, too black, not
Right.
enough rocks. I think, doesn't they need like a rocky soil or something?
Yeah, they kind of want a gravelly soil, well-drained soil for it.
Yep.
Yeah, heavy soil it does not like because it doesn't like diseases. So if it's wet, you're in trouble.
Right.
These drought years, the ginseng farmers love it.
Okay.
Wow.
There is wild ginseng in our woods around here.
Sure.
There was a guy that actually got caught harvesting it without a license, and the
Oh.
DNR got him pretty good. So
Interesting.
he's fine.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Is it you?
No.
yeah.
He worked at the co-op.
So he also said something about maple syrup. What are you doing there?
Yeah, so that's just kind of a little hobby too, I guess. So back in the day, my grandpa used to tap 1,500 trees all on buckets, like in the 70s.
Yep.
And I guess one year their shack burnt down and they never tapped trees again. Year 2000, I was a sophomore in high school, and on spring break, all the buckets of taps and the buckets and everything were piled in the machine shed. And one year in 2000, we tapped 25 trees. And within about, 5-6 years, we got up to about 500 trees, me and my two brothers, kind of through high school and whatnot. And then you had a kind of a lot of labor. All the high school buddies came out, and did a little bit of drinking and cooked a bunch of sap,
I was just thinking that'd be the perfect place to do that.
That'd be great.
Eventually, those guys grow up and get girlfriends and wives and kids, and they ain't coming out to do that anymore. So we had quit it. And just the past couple years, I kind of started it up with my kids again a little bit here. Just do a couple hundred for the fun of it,
What's a couple hundred get you for gallons of syrup?
So basically, the rule of thumb is a quart of syrup per tap.
Okay. For the year? For
the year.
Okay.
For the year. Yep.
That's not that much.
Yep.
No, that's a lot of tapping.
If you do vacuum lines, you're going to about double that production.
Oh, so you suck it out of the tree.
You do. Yep.
I want someone to name their company Suck It Syrup.
Suck it. We could suck a golf ball through a garden. Or in this case, syrup through a tree.
Through a tree. That's it. I just got an email reminding us that we needed to start selling stuff on TikTok Shop. We're going to start selling Suck It Syrup.
Suck it.
We're gonna send Ninny a. Can we call you that? Isn't that like a derogatory term?
What?
Well, that's what a lot of people call me.
Ninny. I gotta look that up because we might not be able to. We might have to bleep that out. Let me see if that
I
is.
don't think so.
We're gonna send him a vacuum and he can be the source of our Suck It Syrup.
I still don't think a quart per tree. I feel like there'd be a lot more sap in there. Which, how much?
Yeah, you get it.
Do you have to cook it down?
Yeah, 40 gallons of sap to 1 gallon of syrup. So that one tap is, roughly 10 gallons.
Oh my
of
god.
sap.
Okay, that sounds more realistic. That's crazy.
I bet you that tastes good in a bush light.
Well, yeah.
I would.
Yeah, it would.
A ninny. We do not have to bleep ourselves. It is short for nitwit, someone who is incredibly foolish.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure that was in that Christmas, the claymation Christmas movie.
The Nightmare Before Christmas.
No, with the abominable snowman.
Oh,
and all that.
yes.
Yeah. You
Yes.
ninny something or whatever.
That's
I
pretty
can't
good.
remember.
Well, Ninny, we like to play a game with all of our listeners, or with all of our guests, so our listeners can play along with us. You want to play a game?
Sure.
You don't have any predetermined notions because he's never listened before, but we are going to play a little bit of a different one. It's called Hot Takes. So we're gonna read a statement, and you have to tell us if you agree or if you disagree and why.
Oh boy. Okay.
Okay? So we'll start out with an easy one. Kids should grow up working on the farm.
Well, I agree, obviously, and I think a lot of kids could use a lot more work ethic today, or just to get out and see what's in the world. There's too many, kids or people in general that really even, don't know what's out there. They don't realize what's beyond their door or beyond their house. They're
Right.
they're confined to a very small world, really. I mean, you can connect, as much as you want with social media and whatnot, but there's just so many things they're not a part of. They're watching it all on a screen.
Yeah.
So the follow-up to that is every kid should be required to work off the farm for 5 years before returning.
Ooh, so that's, I would say not necessarily depend on the situation. So there too, was a talk when I was a kid, that you should go work somewhere else for a couple of years and decide if that's what you want or not. And I guess that would all depend on your family and what kind of, situation you have. Do you get along with your parents or not, or grandparents or whoever's involved in that farm? And, I think 5 years is maybe a little long. I would agree with 2 years of going and getting some outside experience and outside ideas before you come back. It's going to open you up instead of being in that kind of small sheltered world doing it the way that, your dad always did it or whatnot.
Yeah.
I think it's good to see other operations and other things, other jobs, and have to be held accountable to that place. There's being on a family farm, maybe sometimes you don't feel like you got to be there because it's just your dad. And, if you don't make it there till 6 o'clock instead of 5:30, then so be it. Well, if you got a real job, that doesn't cut the mustard.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I would agree. I don't like to throw blanket statements at something like that because obviously every situation's different. But
there's a farm advisor that put a tweet out that every one of his clients, he requires them to do that.
See, I don't like the word required. Mm-hmm. Like, I want the person that wants to come back to the farm to want to go. Like,
sure,
listen, I know you want to come back to the farm, and that's great. But if you go off the farm and not just go mess around, but you go off and actually work for someone else, you learn so many different skills. I think you're more of an asset and more likely to succeed at the farm. Now, obviously, not everyone can do that. Maybe there's, health issues in the family and they need it, that or the farm crumbles. You can get plenty of experience, I should say,
sure,
in that. But if you're not the one, those ones, the ones that have to come back because of a health issue, dad died or, got cancer or something like that, like, they get thrown to the wolves right away. But if they survive that, like, I feel like they're normally like very, very successful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
All right, what's the next one?
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No, not a question.
A hot dog is a sandwich.
Hot dog is a sandwich. I wouldn't call it a sandwich.
What do you call it?
Well, a hot dog's a hot dog. A sandwich would have to be something, flatter, like a piece of bread, not a hot dog bun.
What if you put?
What about a Subway sandwich though? That's not round. That's not flat.
What if you put a hot dog in a hamburger bun?
It's still a hot dog.
So what if you put sandwich meat in a hot dog bun?
Oh, man. We're going to have to come up with a term for that, but it still ain't a sandwich.
It's a hoagie.
See, I was loaded for bear with that
one.
I was set. The youngest child is always the favorite.
Oh, no. I would say not.
Because you're the favorite?
I'm the oldest.
Right, and you're the favorite?
I would say I would have been at once, or kind of was to my grandparents, because I was the first grandson, so that's...
He's being politically correct.
All right. Here's one. Beer drinking age should be 18 and liquor should be 21.
Ooh, boy. Never even thought of something like that. I guess what's the difference?
You're in Wisconsin. It's all 18, right?
Wisconsin.
Actually, it's 16 with your parents, right?
I'm not even sure.
Yeah, they just start at 12 and forget the rules.
No, I think plenty of them do. Personally, not something I really ever got into. My grandma and grandpa both never drank a drop in their life. So it was, I don't know if I would even say frowned upon, but I was personally too afraid to disappoint them. So I'd really, the first time I took a drink of beer, I was 20 years old.
Okay.
And tapping trees.
He still beat Dave. What? Dave didn't drink a drop till he was like 26.
I know. I was stuck in the tapping trees comment, and you said beat, and then I was like, we can't do this. We can't go that route.
I wasn't thinking that at all.
All right, last one. Elderly people should be required to retake driving tests.
Ooh.
It's got Corey's required word in there again.
This just is assuming that they don't have to. I thought they did.
Oh, do they?
Or
I'd be curious statistics on that. Are the elderly causing a lot of accidents that this needs to be done? Not. That'd be my question.
Let's see. I'll just pull up the Google machine.
So there's a
Elderly
few of them
people.
out there that you question why they're still driving, but I don't know if there too, if we need to put a blanket
right.
response on that. I don't know.
I struggle with it because, man, I see it both ways because no one knows when to say enough is enough.
Right.
But,
Right.
man, that's what just what am I looking for? Like a representation of losing your freedom. Like that's
Elderly drivers cause fewer motor vehicle accidents than any other driver category because fewer of them actually drive. Statistically, there is a clear difference that elderly drivers per capita cause more accidents due to their lower number of drivers.
So on a
Higher
percentage-wise, their group is higher,
But as of all accidents, it's still a relatively low number.
because there's not as many. I mean, yeah, they're getting
Yeah.
towards the end of life, and yeah.
Well, there you go. That's the game. I don't like that one as much.
No, it's hard to navigate.
Yeah.
I don't know if they need to take the whole test. It basically come down to sight and hearing. If you're still decently cognitive, then I think you can keep driving. But
And
that's where
probably reaction time.
That's what they should do. They should have to do that Chinese reaction test. Have you seen that to where it's a circle and it's got like 6 cylinders?
No,
and
I have not seen this.
You don't know what order they drop?
I have not
So when
seen
it drops, you got to catch it before it hits the ground?
Really?
You have not seen that?
sounds hard at 35.
Yeah.
How fast does it drop?
At 9.8 feet per second, which would be what gravity is. Sorry, that was a total nerd moment.
Yeah.
So, Nenny, it's we recorded with you on a Friday. Did you get to knock off early?
Yeah, we're a little early today.
Well, you're welcome. What's in store for the weekend?
Not a whole lot. My 9-year-old has a basketball tournament here tomorrow. But nothing too much going on right now.
So one of the tractors we didn't talk about in the beginning was you got a fast track, JCB fast track.
Yep.
So you said you like the AGCO side of things. That's not AGCO. Why'd you go there?
Oh, I mean, we're always looking for deals. Whatever's a deal. The very first fast track we had was one of them. I forget the number on it. It was an older one. More one of the first ones that came out. My brother picked up from somewhere in Indiana. It leaked oil everywhere. It kind of looked terrible. Got it for a pretty smoking deal. Brought it home. Got rid of all the oil leaks. Repainted it. Ran it a few years on our big square baler and whatnot, and eventually just kind of upgraded from there. And like the speed, like the braking. They handle like no other tractor. Even better than Fendt, I would say.
Really?
So, and yeah, we continue to run that on our big square baler, do custom work, and you can travel around town a little faster, I guess, that way at 44 miles an hour.
Whoa.
I got a quick little story on a fast track. So not the current fast track we have, but we bought one like 2 years ago on an auction down in Indiana, somewhere near Fair Oaks, and we drove that home. Versus trailering it. And it was a 12-hour drive home.
Okay.
From
Nice.
there.
Corey wants to do an episode on driving equipment home. What'd you send me? It was a tweet about how far they pulled a planter home?
Someone went and got a planter.
But it was a
states.
JC. Didn't they pull it with a JCB?
They went with a JCB. But man, that's a lot to ask out of a auction by planter, let alone the tractor.
Yeah. It was good. We just kind of took all the back roads until we hit Wisconsin. We hit the interstate, and somewhere along the way we ran into a state trooper and found out you're not supposed to run on the interstate until you get north far enough it's allowed, but it wasn't there.
I thought you just had to have a minimum speed of 40 mile an hour.
That's what I told him, and he said, no, that's Illinois or, other places, not Wisconsin, doesn't have that law. So
I wonder how wide is it? Is it like 12 foot wide or?
The tractor?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's 12.
But it's wider than
You think
a
so?
car. It might
My
have
Google
something to do
search
with
is-
speed and
My
width.
Google search history is going to be interesting.
But I think it fits in a lane, and the guy just kind of stayed off to the right and away you went,
Yeah. Huh. So they're really nice handling on the road. I've always been interested in them. I've never been in one. I've seen them, but how do they handle in the field?
Good. I mean, we don't pull anything major with it, I would say. We're not doing tillage with it. It pulls a manure tanker, and it pulls that big square baler.
Okay. Looks like they go up to like 425 horse.
Yeah, and I believe these newer ones now have the Fendt transmission in them, I believe.
100.4 inches.
So that's not that wide.
That's less than 10 foot.
Yeah. Wow. Look at that. 265,000. I'm on Tractor Zoom looking at some.
We're recording a podcast, Corey. You can shop later.
I just wanted to see what some of these go for because I don't know. I would love to go 42 mile an hour down the road.
Do you and you have Alice tractors, right? Or are those? You got some orange ones?
I just have the one.
Okay.
So 80/70, and that. So when I grew up, we were mainly Alice, or when I was a young kid, we had a couple 60/80s, one with a cab, one without, and then we had a 80/30 and an 80/70, both just two-wheel drive tractors. Our 80/70 was a tractor that we ran on our chopper. Believe it or not, we had a 3970 John Deere chopper, one of the few pieces of John Deere equipment we've had through the years. But somewhere, I would say in the mid-90s, all the Alice's left, and then got a couple cases and kind of moved down from there. But I don't know what it was. I don't know if you've heard of Don Finetti at all. Had a huge Alice Chalmers collection. I discovered it on Machine Repeat, and he passed away here, and they had an estate auction a number of years back. And yeah, look up Machine Repeat there. It's very sweet collection. So went and looked at that collection of tractors, and that just kind of got me thinking about Alice Chalmers again and childhood and whatnot. So I thought, I'm going to go buy one again. So found that 80/70 and went and got one. So I just pull my round baler with that basically for the beef.
So those tractors look like they have a really short turning radius because they've got a
They
really
do.
short wheelbase.
They're short. Yes. Yep.
Is that rough too?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I would.
Wow. That's good.
I'm still looking at these fast tracks.
I know you are. But we're almost out of time because we dilly-dallied around.
Does your
much.
wife work on the farm or off the farm?
She works off the farm. She's CNA healthcare
Okay.
here.
That's similar. So you get your health insurance through her, or does your job offer it?
My job has the best insurance.
Oh,
There you
man.
go.
Isn't that crazy? My wife's a nurse as well. Everyone's like, "Oh, you work in the healthcare industry. I bet you got great benefits," and it actually just terrible. way worse than.
So
What you were up
for mine, so I'm actually a union carpenter is what I am. So that insurance costs us nothing out of pocket, and it's all basically 90/10 coverage. So it's
Wow.
pretty tough to beat.
I'm gonna come join
You
your
got to be a
family.
union carpenter.
I'm just gonna join his
Oh.
family. Adopted. I adopted this whole
Yeah.
family.
That's funny.
That's one of the bigger pieces of the puzzles of quitting.
Right.
It's a big deal. Health insurance has gotten only worse and I can't imagine living so rural that you don't have good access to jobs, right?
Right.
Like that if the other significant other wants to go work, they can. Well, some people just can't. There's not a good enough job unless they want to just go work for minimum wage. So,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Well, we always like to wrap up our shows with a question that kind of allows us to put a summary episode together. So the question that we're going to throw at you today is reflecting on how you learn things. So if you think about it, how do you most effectively learn something new? We want to kind of compile all these answers so people can maybe learn from others. So if you got to learn a new thing like those robots, how best did you go about doing that?
I mean, talking to as many other people that have them or are in that situation as possible, you know, touring as many farms as you can. I mean, nobody does it the same, even with robots. So as many people as you can talk to about how they're doing it. I mean, we have a good dealership here, so they helped us out greatly throughout that whole process and made it fairly easy. What looked, you know, fairly difficult day one, you know, was really fairly easy. But yeah, the more people you can talk to, the more questions you get asked. You know, nowadays there's a Facebook group for everything, you know, so you can get on that stuff too and ask questions. Or it's fun just to follow the questions and answers that are on there that you don't even have yet, you know.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
That is good. Very good.
You got anything you want to ask before we wrap up?
No, well, we're at our hard stop, so.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, thank you, one, for your willingness to be on, not even knowing how podcasts work.
Right.
And two, for your patience to begin with.
Yeah.
Went by fast. Yeah, I can usually talk farming for a long time.
Yep.
Well, I always like the way these end when we have more to do it is there might be a part two.
Yep.
We might be able to get you back
Sure.
on sometime.
Yep.
Yep.
Cool.
So
Well, Corey, what do you say?
I say crack a bush light. You deserve it.